Well, I told you guys, I think like 2, 3 weeks ago, it wasn't a bold prediction, but I said the battles are coming. A storm is coming. I said this is going to get worse. It's going to get more tense. It's going to get more divisive. It might even get violent. Well, we haven't had much violence yet, but boy, do we have division. Boy, do we have polarization. The mask battle is raging as I predicted, because I knew it was coming. School was coming, first of all, but also these mask mandates in all these blue states. We're going to cause a little friction, because I know, Turtle Boy, Carano, anyone who's paying attention knows it has nothing to do with public health. It has nothing to do with the virus. It is all about virtue signaling. And I think the biggest virtue signalers of all are obviously politicians, governors, mayors in blue states, but also school committee members, school board members. And I knew this was coming, because I know Turtle Boy. And I knew he was not going to take it. The kids are going back to school, and these hacks, these virtue signaling hacks, are demanding you wrap your child's face in cotton cloth. We all know that's not comfortable. We all know kids don't like it, and nothing sounds more ridiculous when these people say, "Oh, kids don't mind." Jen Psaki said what was it? Kindergarten? No,
rising kindergartner.
Rising kindergartner doesn't mind at all wearing a mask, which is so absurd. I couldn't believe she even said it. No one.
Yeah, who would guess that a 5-year-old wouldn't object to what their parents tell them to do?
That's a good point.
Weird.
And by the way, as you point out, as I've been saying for a year and a half, talking about this with you guys many times, there's nothing crazier than the notion of a parent telling their kid, if they don't comply, this scary little virus, this invisible monster, will come down from wherever, come down from the sky, sneak into their mouth or nose, into their lungs, and kill them. We are seeing some of the worst parenting. I mean, borderline like criminal, depraved, insane parenting. When you have parents, and I see it every day on Twitter, you see these stories, they've kind of got, taken off across the country, these stories of parents saying, "Oh, you're going to kill my children." There was one school committee member, I think it was in Nebraska last night on
Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma.
Right, Norman, Oklahoma, same thing. Oklahoma, a school committee person said, if you don't mask your child, and send him to school, he might kill his classmates. Now, you and I, Turtle Boy and Carano, we've talked about this. We've referred to Marty McCary, the Johns Hopkins doctor.
She didn't just say kill your classmates. She said you will murder them. The word is murder.
So your 8-year-old, if he doesn't wear a mask, this is a school committee member, wants your child to know that if he doesn't wear a mask, he is potentially a murderer. Now, even if this were true, Turtle Boy, even if it were true, it's madness that you would tell a child this. An adult would tell a child this. It is not true. It is provably false that he's not going to kill his classmate. Kids aren't dying. Kids without serious comorbidities are not dying. We know that. We've said that. We all know that. And B, we don't know if cloth masks do anything. Hell, the president's own advisor, Michael Osterholm, recently said they don't work. If the kid doesn't have an N95 mask, it's pointless. Of course, the next day, Jen Psaki said, "Oh, we don't even know who that is." I mean, a guy who was on his advisory committee.
He doesn't work here anymore.
He doesn't work here anymore. Like who? And by the way, Rand Paul said the same thing, and YouTube banned him. I mean, a doctor. Rand Paul is a doctor, a
United States senator. A United States senator is banned from the internet for
saying something that was not particularly controversial, in my opinion. Something most people know, these cloth masks, even if they're properly worn, which they rarely are by children, the effectiveness is at least debatable, at least questionable, but you're not allowed to question it. We have reached. I mean, honest to God, we know the people aren't dying like they were in like January. It's not as bad. The pandemic is not nearly as bad as it was, but the division is worse. The people virtue signaling are worse. The blue state tyrants are worse now. And it's going to get, and the reason it's so bad is because people are more aware. Turtle Boy, you must, I mean, you were there.
Yes.
Turtle Boy was at a meeting last night, a school committee meeting. We'll play some of it. All the big stars are going to school committee meetings now. Clay Travis and Matt Walsh and Turtle Boy, and they are getting resounding applause and support from their neighbors. I don't think that would have happened. I don't think it did happen 6 months ago, correct? I mean, this is different now. People are fed up.
The jig is up. There's really no excuse for this anymore. There was never an excuse to begin with, but the fact that we have a vaccine now and you can literally take the vaccine and protect yourself, there's absolutely no reason on earth. It's clear at this point. If we're still going to do masks, then we're never giving up masks. If not now, then when?
As you point out in the meeting, and this was the best part. I mean, I think you spoke for about 3.5 minutes, but when you I knew this would be good because nobody, as I was just telling Carano before we started recording, I said nobody likes confrontation, particularly public confrontation, like as much as Turtle Boy.
That's true.
Maybe Minahan, but nobody is more comfortable in that environment than you are. And you stood up before the committee, and the first thing you point out is how many of the school committee members showed up without masks, sat down, and then put the mask on, proving it was just for show. That was great.
We all knew it was for show, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this guy, I've seen this guy at meetings before. He wears a mask. I'm going to take a picture of him now. Then I take a picture of him putting it on. And then when he's finally, it's just like, you don't believe this. You don't believe this. Stop it. What are we doing here? And it's one thing if you're just a fraud, but you are a fraud trying to hurt my child. Right. And that is where the daddy bear comes in. And I've had enough of it. And there was a lot of mama bears last night. I was one of the few papa bears. I would urge men to get more involved in this process as well. Maybe women are more effective speakers. I don't know. But people have had it because it's hurting our kids now. And that's where we draw the line.
Well, it was easy for Clay Travis and Matt Walsh. They were in Nashville. You know, they were in a pretty red state, although it was in the city, I think.
It's a blue county, though.
Blue county. But so what? It's different. You were in Massachusetts. I mean, you went there.
Belly of the beast.
You were in the belly of the beast, and you made a good impassioned speech, and right there you nailed it. If you want to make people wear a mask, and again it's pointless, but if you want to make them wear a mask to walk into Walmart or walk into the gym or whatever, that's one thing. They can choose to go elsewhere. Your child doesn't have a choice. I mean, I know Turtle Boy Inc. is doing okay, but you don't want to put your kid in a private school just so she doesn't have to mask up, take her away from her friends in a local school, and say this is just because those idiots.
I don't believe in abandoning ship. A lot of conservatives say that just take your kids out of the public schools. No, they belong to me. They belong to the public. My kid has just as much of a right to attend this school. I mean, imagine the civil rights leader said that in the 50s, like, oh, we don't need to go to Little Rock Central High School. You know, it's not worth it. It's like, no, but I want to go to that school and I have a right to go to that school. So I'm going to that school.
The problem is they're indoctrination centers, though. I mean, that's really where they're teaching our kids this fear. That's the next couple generations of leaders who now know what to do in a crisis. So, I mean, I would recommend it's not abandoning ship. It's saving the the intelligence of your kids.
There's so many things you miss out on in high school, like playing sports, being in clubs, making friendships. These are things that you have a right to do, and you shouldn't have to give them up.
I mean, my kids went to public elementary school. They both went to a private school in high school because that's when the real serious indoctrination begins. I think it's getting worse in primary years and the elementary years, but I mean, I don't blame you. You're paying taxes. Your kid wants to be with their friends. It's the idea that these little tyrants, these masked fanatics are going to ruin your children's, elementary school years when they want to be with their friends, when they want to be at the local school is nuts. And it was good to see you putting up a fight. And it was good to see you get some support from the friends and neighbors. I've said this all along, Turtle Boy, to you. I don't know. I can't imagine how frustrating it is. I said it to Shattuck. Anybody with young kids, and you know it's unhealthy. You know it's uncomfortable. You know the kid doesn't want to do it, and you know above all else it's pointless. You know it's just this guy, this woman on the school committee. It's no different than putting a sign in their yard that says hate has no home here, or a Black Lives Matter banner. It's just hollow virtue signaling. And again, the hate has no home here sign does not hurt your child. All it does is make this person feel like they're better than you.
Yeah, you just know that's like you might as well hang a "I'm a douchebag" sign outside of your house if you have that sign.
Yeah, it's just saying that they're a douchebag, but it doesn't hurt your child. Right. This does. And I know I've referred to the Marty McCary story in the Wall Street Journal from a few weeks ago many, many times, where they studied the effects of, or should I say, they didn't study the effects of masks on children. He's the one who pointed out, and Ron DeSantis referred to it, I believe, 2 days ago, that the NIH has a $42 billion budget and has not spent 1 cent studying the effects of masks on children. They don't. If they say, the masks are fine, they're lying. They do not know the effects masks have on children. And to be frank, I don't think they care. I mean, we know Fauci does not care about the issues, like the emotional issues, the mental problems kids have when they're masked up. He does not care that they don't get to see anyone else's face or smile. That's irrelevant to them. They just want total control. And if you resist, they want to crush you. That's the mentality of Fauci and Rochelle Walensky and the rest of those bureaucrats, those out of control bureaucrats. But there's another Wall Street Journal piece from Marty McCary, the Johns Hopkins doctor, and it's eye opening. I mean, there's no study anywhere that proves that putting children in masks saves anyone. It's just remarkable that we've made this leap, and people like these school committee members and like many of our neighbors, particularly in these blue states, they've just decided one day that kids have to be masked to, I guess, stop the spread. Is that
there's control? Like, how these liberals, they love Western Europe. I mean, we have control groups over there in England. Up to 12 years old do not wear masks in school. There has been no spread. There have been no spikes. Why are we not emulating Western Europe that we love so much when they want socialized medicine and stuff like that? Why aren't we looking at them and say, oh, look, they tried this, nothing happened. Why don't we give that a shot?
It's same with Ireland. Ireland, I think they did some controlled study and decided that was not healthy for children, but it doesn't. Forget the fact that it's uncomfortable and all that. You say, do you really believe this somehow stops a pandemic to put an 8-year-old in a cloth mask? They can't really believe that. They can't.
Can they not? I mean, because I was thinking about this on the way home, Gerry. I'm like, what is their motivation? Like, what are they gaining from this? Because they're not making money off of this. Their kids are being, are uncomfortable in these masks. Nobody wants to wear the masks, even them. So what are they gaining from it? And the only conclusion I can reach is just that these people look at Anthony Fauci as some sort of deity, as a godlike figure, and whatever he says, they will do. Whatever he says. And they look at institutions like the CDC, and whatever they say, they will just immediately take as true. They don't like questioning anything.
Well, the interesting thing about the CDC is when my town of Durham, New Hampshire, super liberal town where the University of New Hampshire is, and so you have a lot of faculty and staff. It's a good school system, one of the best in the state. But you get a lot of helicopter parents and liberal ideas. When they went to a mask mandate a year ago, I checked the CDC and the WHO and the New England Journal of Medicine, and all of them said that there was no evidence that masking stopped the spread of diseases like COVID. It's too small; it goes right through. Or
not according to Facebook fact checkers. I'm in a group about mask mandates, and they have an algorithm where the mask comes up, and they feed your group.
I know.
Fact check. Actually, masks do work.
So they're doing that stuff on Gerry's. When we do our live feed, you'll see the same banner go across this video as well. And I try to exit out, but there's nothing we can do. They're just, you're right. Facebook, everybody, the people in power want to gain more power so they can have more control. And they also need to justify their own existence. So if they look like they're making the big decisions, they're justifying their own decision, their own existence.
And it is frightening. It is frightening. I mean, every day we hear from other people in power saying, screw you. Yesterday, literally, Arnold Schwarzenegger said, screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. I mean, I think he was quoting Dr. Fauci, in his defense.
He said, screw your freedom?
Yeah. Screw your freedom. It amazes me that there was a debate, I guess it was 20-something years ago, on whether we should change the Constitution so Arnold Schwarzenegger could run for president. And I was dead set against it then, and I can't believe anyone was for it, where they said, he should be able to run for, even if he wasn't born in this country. I'm like, why? Why would you? Why is any person, one person, that important? And why specifically is this clown that important to you? He's not that bright. But anyway, and everyone's pointing out, his father was a Nazi. chip off the old block. His father was literally a Nazi, literally fought for Hitler. But whatever, I think most people mocked and ridiculed that fool. I mean, that's long-term effects of serious steroid abuse.
But what we know is the flu is more deadly to kids than COVID.
Right. And Turtle Boy made the point. I mean, everybody does. The flu is much more deadly, and we've never masked children for the flu. It's just, and they can't answer that. You ask them, why do you want to mask up for this, but you never do for the flu, which is much more deadly for children? The flu kills many, many more children every year than COVID, which again kills no healthy children. None. Zero.
Still waiting for an example of one. I asked that guy yesterday. You saw, or 2 days ago. You saw. Still looking for an example of one.
They're flat out lying now, saying, "Oh, the hospitals are overrun with children."
That is the biggest lie, and the media is complicit in that with this nonsense about Florida being overrun by, children in the ER. And last night they said that some of these speakers for the pro-mask people said it, and we had an actual pediatric nurse on our team. We had some heavy hitters last night. We had teachers, we had pediatric nurses who got up and says, "Actually, I work in a pediatric wing of the hospital." That's not true. This is just literally made up. You're making shit up.
The best is when they say Texas hospitals are overrun. You go, wait, you've let in 1 million illegal aliens, and they're estimating like 1 in 4 has COVID, and you're taking no. I mean, they're not socially distancing. They're not doing anything. They're putting them on buses and sending them around the state. If the hospitals are indeed overrun with COVID, that's the result of Biden's border policies, open border policies. But let's get to, I wanted to start right off with your appearance at the school committee meeting. Got a little sidetracked, but let's hear a couple of cuts from Turtle Boy at the, what is this committee called, or this
Wachusett Regional School Committee.
Wachusett Regional School Committee. I think you didn't look up enough. You read your notes. You stuck to the notes.
I did. I'm not that polished yet.
You want to be a little more theatrical. You look up, look them in the eye, take a pause, but you hit.
It's a 3-minute thing. That's why you got to get it all out. And maybe
you did an excellent job. And I think your calling, whatever, your neighbors, your friends, your like-minded parents were pretty happy with it, and they cheered. And I get the sense that it doesn't matter, that you're not going to persuade any of the the petty little tyrants up on the school committee. And your poor daughter, your poor 6-year-old daughter, is going to have to wrap her face in a piece of cloth when she goes to school. Was that next week?
They have 3 more weeks till school starts.
3 more weeks till school starts. And
our best hope with this is that the school committee sees all these parents there and gets scared to make a decision and just defers to the superintendent, who did not wear a mask last night, and he makes the right call. That's our hope.
Yeah, but you know how it works. The media is going to pressure them, even if it's local, even if it's a local hometown newspaper.
I don't know, Jerry. Like the district next to us is the Quabbin district. They already made it clear, no masks, none. So it's been done.
Well, if it happens, I'm going to give you all the credit. If it happens, if they do not require masks, and by the way, they're not banning masks. I hate that when lately you've heard it on many
just bad argument after
CNNs
bad argument.
And CNNs and BCs, and the typical people say, "Oh, DeSantis or Abbott wants to ban masks. No one wants to ban. Your kid wants to wear a mask, or you insist your child wear a mask. Go for it. And again, I'll never get this. There's a story right now on. It's I don't know where it is. This morning on I think it might be Daily Mail, where a kid, there's a little an overweight kid, and he's in the hospital with a ventilator or something. It's probably all staged, but the mother pleading with other children to wear masks because her 8-year-old is sick with COVID. And the kid, again, is overweight, probably has many comorbidities, but I feel bad for the child. But what if that child was wearing a mask? Then he wouldn't have got COVID, right?
So they would think. So their argument goes.
Why does the kid next door or the kid?
No, Jared, they have an answer for everything, Jerry. The answer to that one is that their mask does not protect them from getting the virus. It protects them from giving the virus, because my mask doesn't protect me. It protects you. You don't care about me.
Gotcha.
That's science. That's science, Jared.
All right. So I'm sorry.
If you want a one-way mask.
If you don't want your child to murder his classmate, as the school committee woman in Oklahoma said, you must mask up at all times. And if it affects him psychologically, and by the way, Marty McCary makes a bunch of other points, like it affects your breathing, which affects everything. I mean, it literally affects your facial structure. If you breathe incorrectly for long periods of time, you get acne, which is something kids doesn't help your mental state. If you're a kid in school and you're getting acne,
you can't French kiss anyway, Jerry. So what does it matter? That's banned too.
Oh, right. It just, the idea that if it wasn't doing any damage, just all it did was make these people feel good. That's one thing, but it makes them feel good, and it does serious damage to our children. This is the new battlefront, and as kids go to school, it's gonna flare up across the country, day in and day out. There's going to be these fights at these school committee meetings, and then the school committees are going to say, "Screw you, mask the kids up," and the parents are going to go nuts. The Catholic schools are going to be overrun. Forget the hospitals. The Catholic schools and parochial schools are going to be overrun with students, people whose kids just won't do it. They can't do it. I mean, there's kids, there's special needs kids who just won't do it, just can't do it. And these people don't care. I mean, there's one thing all these little tyrants on the school committee have in common is they don't care about children. They don't care at all about the mental state, about the health and well-being of children, of their children, of your children, of any children.
You know why? Jerry? Because Jen Psaki's rising kindergartner is cool with it, and that girl sets the tone for the country. If she can do it, anyone can.
Rising kindergartner. Does she look like mom?
I hope not. Oh no, that would be a damn shame.
Let's listen to Turtle Boy, our guy here, go before the school committee. And do we have the shot?
The first one is. Oh, sorry. The first one is the shortcut where he talks about the mask.
Good. I want to hear this one. Let's start with that.
Before I give my speech, I just want to acknowledge that I saw 4 members walk into this hall, this library, without masks on, sit down, and put their masks on. If you did that, you don't believe in science. If you believe that COVID exists right here, but not over there, you don't believe in science.
Great shot, Turtle Boy. I mean, how long did you have to sit down and work on that before?
Well, I didn't. I just saw it coming. It was all on my mind. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. I was live tweeting it. I posted pictures of the idiot that walked in there with no mask on, dressed like he looked like a recovering addict in a heat wave, wearing a freaking sweatshirt and jeans, pulled a dirty mask out of his filthy pockets and put it on as soon as he sat down. I literally got the whole sequence: walking in, no mask on, sitting down, putting it on, and there he is.
There's only one school committee member who's on camera with you, and he looks so annoyed at you. It's a great.
He doesn't even want to call you up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Aiden Kearney. Should have told him your name was Turtle Boy. So
that guy's on our side. He didn't have a mask on.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point. He wasn't wearing a mask. It's true. It's like all you need to know is who's masking up and who's not, because it's not about health. It's not about the virus. It's not about any of that. These people are all vaccinated. They don't need masks. It's crazy. And it'd be one thing if it was just us fighting grown-ups, but the idea that these people are using children is just so despicable. It is a new low, but somehow I feel like it's going to get lower. It's going to get dirtier. It's going to get nastier. And my kid, I'm not putting my kid on the bus like you are, that must be brutal to say, sorry, we lost. You have to wear a mask. I can't imagine.
The funniest part about last night was the clip where one of the emailers mentions Fauci and says that we should listen to experts like him. And the whole place bursts out in laughter. And the guy had to bang his gavel. Oh, it was great audio.
Do you have that? I didn't see it.
No,
it's not on the.
It's on my Twitter.
Sorry.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you if you want. You got to play that part.
Get it. Let's listen to another cut. Do we have another cut of Turtle Boy before the school committee, before the really annoyed school committee?
Yeah.
This isn't normal, and we should not be normalizing it. And has anyone who wants to force masking on children even thought about the psychological effects this is having on them? What are we telling kids by forcing mandatory masking is that inside the confines of their school, and only in the school, exists a bloodthirsty virus that will jump into their mouths and kill them the moment they remove their masks. Or they could have that virus in their mouth already and be walking around school like a loaded weapon ready to kill their classmates the second they remove that mask. This is about choice. I'm not trying to tell any parent in this district that their child can't wear a mask. So why are you trying to tell my child that they must wear a mask? You have no right to make it harder for my daughter to breathe. The emotional and psychological well-being of children supersedes the irrational fear of adults resulting from a virus they have already been inoculated from. If the masks work so effectively, then your child will be protected from my child by simply wearing a mask. What is the end game here? When is it safe enough? This is a, quote, sophisticated and vaccinated crowd you're looking at. Children in our town aren't dying from COVID, but we are hurting them by forcing masks. And if you're in the business of hurting kids, you have no business sitting on the school committee, and we will remember that in May. Thank you.
Good job, Turtle Man. That was
do you like the sophisticated and vaccinated line, Jerry?
Sophisticated, vaccinated crowd. It is true. I mean, I know you only have 3 minutes, but I feel like going one after another. The school committee. You're vaccinated, right, ma'am? Yes. Why do you give a damn whether my kid has a mask on or not? If you're vaccinated,
the Delta variant, Jerry. The Delta variant. That's their answer to everything. The Delta variant.
The Delta variant. And if you get it after you're vaccinated, you will barely know it. You won't even notice. And there's no proof that putting a mask on that kid is going to protect you. There's none. It's just scary how willing these people are to not just comply, but to point out, see that attic over there? Anne Frank is up there, officer. Anne Frank is up in that attic. I saw her.
Oh, we can't do the Nazi references, Jerry.
Oh, that's right.
You'll have to apologize.
Okay, come up with another one. These people are so willing to knock on their neighbors or call out their neighbors who don't want to comply to this insane edict. Yeah, this is peak insanity, but somehow I think we're going to get to other peaks, other points.
This isn't going away. This is going to be, I think this winter will be the critical crux of it, whether we're going to go into full dystopia or people are going to fight back enough.
Yeah, wait for a year from now when it's the 2022 election and we need an issue. The Republicans, DeSantis is they're gonna call it the DeSantis variant. DeSantis is killing children. We don't have any proof. There's no kids dying, but we'll make it up if that's what it takes. No holds barred here. It's a fight to the death. And they feel like this is a winning issue, like the Republicans. I mean, that's just all you hear from CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, Washington Post, that DeSantis and Abbott are killing people. All these Republican governors are killing people. They're going to go with that. They're going to run with that. And we're not going to be done with this for a long, long time. But we got to get to the other big story involving Turtle Boy. I'm glad you feel good today that you had that appearance before the school committee that went over well with your neighbors. I'm sure you're going to be hearing from people now today saying you're like you're inspiring them. You're like the leader of the resistance. That's a good feeling, but I can't imagine, Turtle Boy, how frustrated you were, how frustrated you are with the lack of respect from the national media. When I was on the radio and we'd do like an interview, we'd talk to Brady every Monday. And sometimes in the old days, he used to say things. He used to say noteworthy, newsworthy things. And of course, the Boston Herald would say, he talked to Kirk and Callahan, or he talked to Dennis and Callahan. But the Boston Globe, being the petty little a-holes that they are, would say things like, he said on the rate, Tom Brady said on the radio this morning, or Tom Brady said on a local sports radio station. They would it would kill them to mention our names or the names of the show, and we would get annoyed, but it wasn't a big deal. Your job is to break news, and you do it better than anyone in New England. You certainly do it better than the Boston Globe has ever done it. You break more stories, before breakfast than they've broken in years. And you had a great story. How long ago was it that you posted?
I told, like, when I last was on the show, that was how I ended it. I said, wait till you see the story I'm coming up with today, Jerry. It's a good one. Stay tuned. And I knew it was gold. I know when a story's gold. I'm like, this woman is lying on CNN and being used by them and making $225,000 off it. And that was when I only knew she was lying about being a car dealer. I didn't know at the time that she was also not the mother of those kids.
If you missed it, it has everything. It's typical, CNN story. It's about eviction, the eviction moratorium. So they focus on this woman, Daisha Kelly. Daisha Kelly, who was a dealer, a car dealer in Vegas, but got laid off. And she actually says things like she sold her plasma for money. It's just really over the top, melodramatic. I don't know how you got the story, but you completely destroy the whole narrative that she's not laid off. She's not struggling. She's not the mother of these children. She uses children, pretend they're hers. That's one thing. Then she raises $200,000 plus from GoFundMe. CNN buys it hook, line, and sinker, and Turtle Boy exposes them all. It was great.
I'd like to point out she had that GoFundMe's been up for a month. She had $0 raised until CNN reached out to her, and the only way they found her, I discovered, is because they searched in the tab bar eviction, because that's what they want to do a story on. They want to find a sympathetic woman. She's the first thing that comes up. 18,000 GoFundMe's came up. They're like, oh, this is the best one. This is the best one because it's single mom. She's black, unemployed, wants to work, well-spoken. This is our winner. And that's why they went with that one.
How did you get the story, by the way?
Well, it was all over the news, this story. And I'm like,
how did you know that did you just suspect she was a fraud?
Yeah, well, she said she made $5,600 a day as a dealer, and that really stood out to me. And I said, why didn't she have any savings? And then I researched the casinos, and all of them have been fully operational, so she could work if she wants to. And then I found her social media accounts. That's usually how you discover these things. And I found out she's basically a bootleg OnlyFans entrepreneur who's never had a job. She doesn't work at all. She just goes online and sells pictures of herself, and that's how she makes a living. And I said, this woman is not a dealer. She's in Vegas for other reasons besides the cards. Let's just put it that way.
So this, this story that CNN fell for, because it had everything they love, as you point out, this sympathetic, African-American woman who out of work, 3 kids. They ran with it. They helped her raise. Is it up to $250,000 now?
It was, but she's lost about 50 since Turtle Boy came through. So she's down to under 200 now.
192 is what it looks like.
She's at one. Geez, poor thing. Only 192,000 selling this load of crap with the help of CNN. So it's a great story by Turtle. It's a great story. It totally exposes this fraudulent this woman, and it totally exposes CNN, which is perfect in this day and age. So it gets picked up by everybody, including Fox News. And you have a conversation with the producer of Fox News, which you since posted or tweeted, because the guy promises to give you credit and then doesn't. Now, I understand that he doesn't, think you matter. You're insignificant to him, but I really don't understand why he wanted to do this to you. Did he think you were just going to say, oh, well, we'll get him next time and move on? Did he not?
Yeah, I mean, he treated me like a bitch. And that's why I'm like, should I burn this bridge? Because, professional relationships are important. And what I'm trying to do, build, network, stuff like that. Like, I could use this guy down the line. But I'm just like, my pride is just like, I cannot let these people walk all over me. Because Andy No did it a month ago with the Michaela Miller story too. And I haven't posted our conversation. I did briefly post our conversation. And then Andy No messaged me and said, what are you doing? Can you please take that down? I'll give you a shout out, please. I'll mention you on Twitter. And he did it, but it was like kind of like the bare minimum. And I vowed after that, I'm like, I don't care how big you are, how important you are. You can't get walked on by these people. You can't allow them to do it. You got to call them out for it.
So who else stole your work? This producer, he was a Tucker Carlson producer?
Yeah, and so he followed me on Twitter and started liking the tweets about this. I check out his bio. He's got the blue check mark. That's always appealing. And I see Tucker Carlson producer. So I messaged him, and I'm like, I'm a big Tucker fan. I think this is right up Tucker's alley. I explained the whole thing to him. You saw the conversation. He was like, wow, this is amazing. I cannot believe this. Yeah, we'll definitely write about this. I'm going to pass this on to the news guys and blah, 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 and we'll cite you. And then he puts the story up, which he helped co-write. And I messaged both him and the guy who wrote it because I was not in there. And I said, can you put me in? Both of them said, yes, our mistake. We'll get that up right away because I know how this cycle works. One mainstream media outlet like Fox News puts the story out there. And I know Breitbart's going to dig this. The Daily Mail, the Blaze, the Daily Wire, they are going to eat this up. It's conservative red meat. It's like everything they could want in a story. And the problem is they're going to cite someone. And now they're going to cite Fox News instead of me. I could have picked up tens of thousands of new followers from this because this is a gold story. And it was just stolen from me by this thief, Greg Ree. That's what he is. He's a thief.
What's his name again?
Greg Ree. I assume, it's R-E. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but Greg Ree.
And so he's one of many. I mean, it was picked up by everybody. And CNN had to correct the record. I'm looking at their story right now where they have this long correction on the top, and then they pretend that she spends a lot of time with the children because she dates their father, or her boyfriend is their father. Now you talk to the mother, the actual mother of the children, who points out that they're her children. They're not Dasha Kelly's children. That to me seems like you would have to get credit, but they still stole that from you without attributing it to you. Correct?
And here's the problem with that, Gerry, is that the mother is the most the real mother is the most compelling part of the story. She's 8 months pregnant, works 2 jobs cleaning bathrooms at the MGM Grand. She is this is her 7th kid. She's made a lot of life choices that I would not recommend. And so she's actually a sympathetic person though, because she's working. And I got videos of her in my interview. She's crying. Like you can tell like the pain in her voice that every time people donate to this woman, it's like she's being stabbed. She has to watch her children on TV being used by some guy who's banging the baby daddy. That's all she's doing. And she has to watch her children being used, calling another woman mom, being coached to do it on national television. She's the most compelling part of that story. If they had published that interview, which would, if they did that, they would have to cite me, and that's why they didn't do it. But if they published that interview, then GoFundMe would have taken this down. That's the most compelling part of the story, and it's evil what Fox News did. Evil.
But why wouldn't they cite you though? You'd think Fox News would. I mean, it just benefits them.
Because they're like, who the hell is this? Because they're like, who the hell is this guy? Because the Fox News is no different from CNN. It's just one big mainstream media circle jerk between the right and the left. And if you're not in their blue checkmark club, nobody to them, and they don't have to cite you. And people like Matt Walsh and Andy No forgot where they came from. These are guys who literally, Matt Walsh started a WordPress blog on his own. Andy No is just a guy with a Twitter account who went around filming Antifa. These guys built themselves up from the ground, and they've forgotten their roots. They forgot where they came from because now they think they only have to associate with other blue check marks.
So you didn't hear from any of them. Nobody said, sorry and good work or anything.
No, and I have receipts of me literally messaging Andy No about this story, messaging Matt Walsh, all on August 6th. And then on August 9th and 10th, they're like, oh my gosh, look at this story. And I replied to Matt Walsh and I said, oh my gosh, I told you about this August 6th. Here's the screenshot of me messaging you because your DMs are open. You tool, you thief. You liar, you fraud, you freaking, you know what I mean? It's like, and these people act like they're like the man of the people, Matt Walsh. No, you're just a right-wing version of Anderson Cooper and every other mainstream media hack.
Wow. No. Well, you know what? I'll give you credit. I would drive me to the point of just giving up. And you say it motivates you. You're going to work harder to break more stories.
I'm not. And one good thing about this, Jared, people saw. People saw that this story was. I made so much noise, and Turtle Riders made so much noise on Twitter. I picked up well over 1,000 followers, including a lot of blue check marks. People I've been following, and I like their work and stuff like that. People noticed, and they won't forget that.
It is disappointing, I have to say, as a fan of Matt Walsh and Andy No and Tucker Carlson. I feel like I don't expect CNN. I certainly don't expect the Boston Globe to ever give you credit. They hate you because you're better at the job than they are. But these guys, you're right. These guys should know better. These guys, as you point out, they should realize that you're one of them. I mean, you're
like I could be a valuable asset for you. Like the kind of stories that I do on the ground, I could feed you good stories all the time. We should work together, but their pride and their elitism in the journalism world forbids them to associate with me because I'm just, who the hell am I? I'm a guy without a blue check mark and 8,000 followers. I don't have to associate with him. I don't have to credit him. And I do want to just point out, like, I still love Tucker. He's the greatest. And Tucker had nothing to do with this. It's the problem is that his producer, who acts as the gatekeeper to Tucker Carlson and literally probably gets hard over it, gets off on it, like thinks he's like, yes, I'm the guy that if you want to get to Tucker, you got to go through me. If Tucker knew what this tool bag did, he would fire him on the spot because I love Tucker.
Well, it would have been a great segment with you there, with the footage of the real mother, with the story of how gullible CNN was. It sounds like a perfect segment for Tucker. It's too bad. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe they'll find out. Maybe they'll hear more, and Tucker will step in and say, "Let's get this guy on." That would be good. You'd have to, dress up. You can't wear the green Turtle Boy shirt though. You gotta,
Yes, I'll wear a tie. I can do the suit. I cannot wear the hat. No, it's no problem. I can adjust. I have a Turtle Boy tie. I wear it to court whenever I'm sued.
Okay. Well, I give you credit always, and it was a great story, and it's just typical. That's typical Turtle Boy, just breaking big stories and then fighting for a little respect. And this time they just dumped all over you.
Well, and it made a difference too. I mean, you had Dasha Kelly had to change her post in GoFundMe to say some questions about the veracity of my claims around this this child. I mean, she didn't walk it back that far, but it did make a difference and probably saved at least $40,000 people's money right now.
We got more to come on that story, and we also may or may not have set her up with a very, very good attorney, a very reputable attorney, who guarantees that the real mother, will get all that GoFundMe money.
Get on. Oh, well, that'd be great.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Good.
So the mom is Shadia. Is it Hilo or Hilo?
Shadia Hilo. Yep.
Hilo. Yeah. Okay.
Good luck. I mean, I'm looking at the CNN update. They don't call it a correction. They call it an update. She's not the mother, but she spends a lot of time with the children.
Well, and CNN has frauds. They took down that video. I mean, they put a replacement video in there.
She's married.
Find the original.
I love that. She's Mary Poppins. She's a ghetto Mary Poppins. That's all this is. Like, I spend a lot of time with the kids. Oh, really? So does my nanny. Like, that doesn't make you a mom.
And they say the funds are on hold. No funds have been withdrawn, but the funds are on hold until they verify her information, says CNN. But
they verified it. The verification is like, I'm not really their mom, but I'm like a mom, so it's verified.
It's been done. It's been done by Turtle Boy. Spell it right. Turtle Boy has verified that she is a total fraud.
And did you see on the GoFundMe too that there was one person who gave $15,000, or multiple people who gave $5,000. Tons of people gave $2,000.
She's from Weston. She's from Weston. Meredith Kellner. She's from Weston, Massachusetts, and they've given over $1 million to the Democratic Party in the last year.
Do they send money to Monica Cannon Grant every month?
I would assume so. I assume that's just what money ain't an issue with them. If you're giving $15,000 to random GoFundMe's you see on CNN.
Wow.
You have to kind of feel a little bitter about having the wool pull over your eyes when you see something like that.
Nah, because they have too much pride to ever admit that they did something wrong.
I can't imagine. Imagine writing a check to this woman for $15,000. I mean, and then knowing she's a fraud, not demanding you get it back. I mean, whatever. We'll see how that plays out. Keep us updated, Turtle Boy. We have to move on. I have to get to the latest Hunter video and the latest from Lori Lightfoot, who hits. I mean, talk about new lows every day. Lori Lightfoot hits a new low. But let me talk about Shea Concrete, and then I'll get to those two losers. But first, Shea Concrete. All right, before we get to Hunter's latest video, and it's just amazing. It's like we have We have a video of the president's son, who, by the way, worked closely with the president around the world, raising whatever, making money for who knows what, selling influence. That guy, the smartest person the president knows. We have video of him naked in bed with a hooker and drugs, talking about Russians stealing his stuff. And it's no big deal. Yeah, just another video of, the president.
It's not the first time.
It is not, but it is just comical what a screw up he is. But first, Lori Lightfoot, and I don't know if there's more to this story, but there was no bagpipes for Ella French, the police officer who was murdered by two dirtbags. By the way, Turtle Boy had an excellent blog on these two guys
and their mom.
Monty Morgan and Eric Morgan and their mom. And it is so disturbing. Their mom got arrested, if you haven't seen it, trying to get into the hospital to see her sons.
Live streamed herself doing it. And
live streamed it, and then obviously said, her sons are innocent. The cops, I don't even understand the argument and how her sons could be innocent. We have a dead.
Well, I understand the argument. The argument is that black people have a right to preemptively kill police officers because the cops will kill them if they don't. If one of those black people had shot Derek Chauvin preemptively, then George Floyd would be alive today. That's literally the argument they make.
Okay, so it's a good argument, strong argument from mom, but she got arrested, and Turtle Boy's got her a whole history. It's just amazing how, as you point out, it's not a policing problem; it's a parenting problem. This is just a terrible, terrible parent. But we can get to her. Lori Lightfoot said they wouldn't. She would not allow the honor guard bagpipes at the morgue after the death of Ella French due to COVID-19 protocols. So they wanted to play the bagpipes, and they wanted to obviously honor Ella French, but Lori Lightfoot, who not only allowed 100,000 people to gather for Lollapalooza, but participated in it, attended it, didn't allow bagpipes for a fallen officer because, that's against COVID protocols. You can't make this up. It is amazing that there's any cops left in Chicago. It's amazing that there's anybody willing to do this job when you have the people in power fighting against you and for the criminals, for the gangs. It's amazing that there'd be one person that would ever vote for someone like Lori Lightfoot, let alone enough to keep her in office. Truly remarkable. We'll see how that goes. This funeral, I'm not sure what day is the funeral. This funeral is going to be amazing. If she attends, they'll turn their backs. I love when the cops do that.
And can I say, like, big city mayors? I mean, they're worse than the governor. They're worse than senators. Every De Blasio and the guy from Los Angeles, whatever, the Carcetti, and Lori Lightfoots of the world, people like this, and Marty Walsh, they are literally a walking argument for why we need to protect the Electoral College at all points, because these are the kind of people that cities elect. And if you want cities determining who is president, this is who you're going to get for president too.
It's just so disturbing. Read about that. I mean, imagine that your cop gets murdered and you have politicians saying, no, we can't have a procession. We can't have bagpipes because of COVID.
Yeah, but I loved, right. There's no golden casket for her, and not everyone's flying in like the same. The patron saint of fentanyl, George Floyd. We all can't be that special, but we'll
no
see.
March, no protest, no nothing.
The cops turning their back and refusing to let her in. I heard you talk about this, I think 2 days ago. That was a great thing. And the Worcester police, when Manny Familia 2 months ago died, saving that little boy in the pond in Worcester. His family refused to allow 3 BLM city councilors to come. That needs to be the new trend. Enough. If you support Black Lives Matter, you are not allowed to pretend that you care about dead cops when they die. Sorry.
Good. And this funeral, I'm trying to find the day. Can you find it?
I was looking for it, and as of yesterday, they're still making arrangements. I don't have the date yet.
It's going to be amazing how big and it's going to be incredible. And she can't stop it. You know, what if they try to do that? What if they try to say a big funeral for Ella French is a super spreader event after Lollapalooza in the same city? That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying for weeks now, Turtle Boy and Matt, is there's a lot of confrontation coming. You know, there's a lot more confrontation coming because normal people like you know, Turtle Boy or me or you or the cops in Chicago are fed up, and they're fed up with the theatrics. They're fed up with the performance art from these frauds like Lori Lightfoot. If they start to say we have to limit the funeral because of COVID, you're going to have so many outraged people. It's going to get ugly.
Because all the cops are going to be outraged. They're going to
by the
walk.
way, it's already happened in Europe where people are just fed up and they're fighting back and they're protesting and they're going to jail, and it's going to get really, really ugly.
In Europe, they're more American than Americans right now.
That's
I mean,
true.
they're the ones who are marching in the streets of London, or or in Germany and Berlin and Italy. I've seen.
Well, they're
they have-
doing that because Germany doesn't have a Florida. Germany doesn't have states, and what makes this country, the reason we don't have that is because there's free places in this country. You have the option to move to South Carolina or Texas or Florida. In Germany, you're just stuck in Germany, so you have to rebel.
All right, let's get to Hunter. Let's get to Hunter, the biggest screw up in the history of presidential families. I mean, I remember vaguely like Billy Carter being a drunk, or Amy Carter was kind of a hippie. She went to Brown University. She made news now and then. I mean, there's
the Bush girls.
Bush girls. What did they do? They got drunk.
They were drunks. They were drunks. They like to party, and that was before Twitter.
Right. So they were drunks. Did they ever get filmed, get videoed with porn stars smoking crack and talking about losing laptops to Russians?
They would have if Snapchat was invented back then.
Consider,
no.
I doubt it. I mean, it almost makes me feel bad for Joe Biden that his son is this much of a screw up. Can you imagine the stress that he put his parents through, or his mother died, but his father through all these years? I mean, his father got him a special waiver to get in the Navy because he was so old. He was like 40. And it was like a few weeks later, he got kicked out for doing coke. So he bends over backwards, gets his son in the Navy. And, I guess he's probably looking for something to keep him on the straight and narrow. Gets him in the Navy, and he gets kicked out because he couldn't stop doing blow. Weeks later, I'll check the date on that, but it wasn't long. Didn't last long. And you just must be, oh my God, here we go again. But it's one thing for him to be into smoking crack, doing hookers, just blowing money. It's another thing to videotape everything. It must be like you sit him down and say, you want to do that stuff? Go nuts. But do you have to turn the camera on every damn time you do it, you friggin' idiot? It's remarkable that we are seeing new video, just comes out in dribs and drabs, I guess. I don't even understand why. But the Daily Mail released this yesterday of him in a hotel room with a hooker, naked. And I don't know why they have to blur everything out. Just show it.
Might as well at this point. Everybody's seen it.
But a couple of observations. He's in Vegas. He's spending, I think it's $10,000 a night. This is where the money, from Ukraine, all the money he's been, making, selling influence to his father. This is where it went, to suites in Vegas and to rocks of crack cocaine and to hookers. But do you remember what we talked about, everybody talked about for three years plus when Trump was a candidate, and then when Trump was president, we talked about this, Russian collusion. And there was a totally made up story about him with hookers in Russia, the P-tapes, and there was videotape out there. Well, that never happened. That was totally made up. That was Hillary Clinton bought and paid for.
The Steele dossier, I believe that's what that was called, right?
It was all a lie. It was just a way to attempt to destroy Trump, the candidate, and then Trump, the president. Well, this is real. This is actual Biden saying that he has a laptop that he thinks was stolen by the Russians. This is on tape. That there might be some real good material in there for blackmail purposes. He thinks the Russians have in their possession his laptop, a laptop which he uses to videotape himself doing drugs and having sex and who knows what else. It's remarkable what he gives.
Yeah.
the
No one,
opposite-
no,
what he
no
gives
one
the-
is like no one is more impressed with Hunter Biden's penis than Hunter Biden. There's no other way around it. That guy loves to see himself naked. That's the only explanation for this.
Honest to God, I can't even imagine like taking a picture of myself naked one time and then deleting it. I'd feel dirty and silly and stupid. This guy turns the laptop on. It's not just a phone, it's a laptop.
Yeah.
Turns the camera on when he does everything. He turned the camera on when he's sitting in the room naked with the hooker talking about this story about him ODing. He literally says they thought he was dead. I think he meant in a hot tub. He says in the pool. He was like face down in the pool.
Yes, he said they didn't know if he was breathing for a few minutes.
And they were not going to call an ambulance. They were just going to leave him. They're dead. This is what he's telling her. So he has this stuff that's so embarrassing, so incriminating, just so sordid. And he thinks nothing of recording it. And by the way, he loses laptops like
oh
most
yeah,
people
he's
lose
tossing them around the world.
Most people lose a sock in the laundry. He loses laptops, which he knows have stuff on them that could destroy him. I guess he thought maybe they could destroy him. Now we know because the media has his back. But again, last night, Hannity drops these hints all the time. Last night, Hannity said that the stuff on this laptop will blow you away. I think it's going to come out in that book by Miranda Devine, but they always insinuate it's about the women, should I say, the girls in the videos, that there's going to be something really explosive, perhaps criminal, that will finally, lead to a criminal investigation or a criminal,
Hunter's going to get himself killed. I mean, Joe's not really in control up there, and the Democratic establishment is not going to let him give all this juice to the other side coming up to an election year. I think no, I mean just all of this.
And this has been my objection with Gerry this whole time. I'm like, nothing sticks less than the Hunter Biden story, yet we keep coming back to it as if it's going to help anything at all. It's not.
So hold on. Let me just, I'll play along. Yesterday, videotape comes out. He's naked in a hotel room with a hooker.
Smoking crack
and talking about the Russians stealing his laptop. Your advice to me would be, don't talk about it. Don't cover it. Because why?
It's ineffective at our goal, Gerry, which is winning elections.
That's not my goal. My goal is to get people to listen to my podcast, and I'd like to.
There you go. Okay. Thank you for being at least honest about that.
Yes.
I'm interested in winning elections and getting power. You're interested in downloads.
Well, no. Yeah, but power is reach too. I mean, the bigger Gerry's voice is across the country and the world. Like the more we can spread.
But who's listening to this? It's like we're in an echo chamber. Everybody listening to this right now is conservative. Like, let's be honest.
So
you're not going to change any minds.
That's not true. I know liberals who listen to this podcast now.
That's true.
Yeah, they hate listening. They click
no.
it.
I mean, they're
so they
friends
can
of
go
mine.
and troll Gerry.
I don't consider myself
get it.
conservative. They're friends of mine. They listen.
I get it on Twitter too. I think I have a fair amount of people who follow, whatever.
They do.
They want to fight. They want to argue. They get upset when I tweet about Hunter Biden because they know it's a huge scandal. They just know that big tech and the big media have the Bidens back. If they didn't, I mean, again, all you got to ask is, what if this is Donald Trump Jr.? What if this is Eric Trump? It's the biggest story in the world today. Every network, every major market newspaper has it across the front, above the fold. It's a naked Donald Trump Jr. smoking crack with a hooker?
Oh,
Are you kidding?
Yeah. We all know the double standard. It's like, how many times are we going to whine about that?
Every day. I'm going to talk about it every day. If it means exposing
and we
the
also
frauds in the mainstream media, it's what we do.
We also thought that Cuomo was untouchable too, but now he's gone. So,
but the right didn't take down Cuomo. The left took
was
down
overwhelming, but at some point there becomes overwhelming stuff, and the mainstream media can't run cover anymore.
Now we know the book, the Miranda Devine book, is coming out in the fall. It's called The Laptop from Hell. I'm just going to predict again, it's going to outsell Hunter Biden's book, which sold about 17 copies. If in that book she proves she has evidence that says that Joe Biden was indeed getting kickbacks, the big guy was indeed getting 10%, Are you going to say, it's a distraction? We got elections.
Well, you know what's going to happen with that? Big tech is going to say, you can't share that on our platform. That's
Right.
Russian disinformation. We will not allow you to share that. And no one will hear about it. That's like, you're missing the big picture. What we should be doing, Gerry, is going after the most important thing we need to do is nationalize the tech companies. Take the power back. They control the means of communications. And until you do that, I know you're a libertarian. Don't get me started on you.
I'm more conservative than you. I mean, if you're thinking about state-controlled media, that's 1984 shit, right?
I'm talking about nationalizing these
Exactly.
We have state-controlled telephone lines, state-controlled water.
That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing to have. You shouldn't want more nationalized control. The bigger the government,
it's a public utility. It is a public utility.
Well, it's not.
Why not? Why isn't it? Why isn't it?
We don't want utilities to be public either. That's how we get worse goods and services. That's how we get a lot of power.
Look, does your phone not work? Your phone works fine, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, but it's super expensive for what you get. As you know, you have like a Verizon plan. You pay $120 a month for your unlimited plan.
Right.
120. I got a good deal. Go ahead.
So let me get this straight again. Turtle Boy I complain about big tech censorship, a big tech squashing a big story like this because they are in the tank for the Biden administration. I complain about it on this little podcast, and Turtle Boy thinks, "Why are you talking about that? Why are you talking about that? Talk about something else." And
the problem is big tech.
So we are one of a few voices that actually will discuss this and hopefully will not get censored. And your solution is to not talk about, to do exactly what big tech and big media wants, is to not talk about Hunter Biden because it's a distraction.
I think step one, I see what you're saying. Maybe if this can initiate us to go after big tech, what we have to do within the party is that Republicans, it can no longer be acceptable for people like Jim Jordan to accept Google money. If you accept Google money, you need to get primaried. That needs to be we have to identify them as the enemy and treat them as such. Until that we get reform within our own party, nothing's going to change.
I'm with you 100% on that. Anybody and Jim Jordan, any Republican taking money from Google or Facebook or Jack Dorsey, I mean, they should have to explain first of all why they are doing it, and then we should they should start incrementally going after big tech. We know that Section 230 is a start, but anything to make it clear that they are the enemy. They are the enemy of the people, and I think. We obviously we're not allowed to say the election was rigged, but it was rigged by big tech. And the best example of all is pretending the Hunter Biden story was Russian disinformation. It was a lie because we found out after the election, they allowed it. It was obviously never Russian disinformation. It was never leaked material. It was 100% appropriate, but they buried it just to help Biden. That is a rigged game right there. It was a rigged election, rigged by big tech. Once we establish that, we can work on. Once we've realized that they are the enemy, we can. The terms of the battle change. I mean, there's nothing legitimate. There's nothing impartial about Google, Facebook, Twitter. They're the enemy. I mean, they work.
Yeah, they should be treated as such. And it's like in these five tech companies all collude, all of which are controlled by liberals. I mean, when are you going to realize? Like, why are they taking money from liberals? I mean, Jeff Bezos. When they all conspired to take down Parler, that was the most Orwellian thing I ever saw. Because the libertarians always say,
right. No, they're a centralized force, and if you nationalize them, they become more centralized.
And the libertarians always say, well, just go build your own Twitter. And that's what Parler did. They built a successful competitor, and then they got too big. And the tech companies colluded with each other to say, okay, we control the means of communication. As a group, the five of us do. Let's just shut them down. And that's what they did. And nobody should have that much power. Teddy Roosevelt would be spinning in his grave. We need zombie Teddy Roosevelt to come back and take his big stick out and bash these people over the head.
You're exactly right. But let me ask you a question. So your thesis is they have too much power now, which I 100% agree with. And your solution is to give them more power backed by the federal government.
I trust what I think is that these platforms should be controlled by the government. And if the government, and hear me out. If the government controls them, then they are bound by the First Amendment. See, these tech companies get to hide behind this whole thing about the First Amendment doesn't apply to us because we're a private company. Whereas if the government controlled it, they could not kick you off of it because you would have a First Amendment right. You could go down to your local district courthouse and file an injunction to get your Twitter account back the second they took it down because you have a right to speak freely on this platform.
All right, you can do that. You can lead that resistance once you've.
I will. This is a little too sophisticated for this crowd. I understand that.
Well, once you've defeated that school committee, the tyrants on that school committee.
Step one.
Step one is making sure your 6-year-old daughter, can get on the bus without a mask. That's the goal. Once you win that battle, then we're going to defeat, Facebook and Twitter and Google. All right.
Incremental.
All right. Power to the people, brother. Power to the people. We shall overcome. But I don't want to take away from you a big moment. If you haven't seen it yet, Turtle Boy tweeted it out. I retweeted it. You can see him. You don't have to just hear him. You can see him at the school committee meeting, dressed nicely, defiantly, going right at those little tyrants, at least the ones with the masks on.
I put the tweets of that in the comments too, so everybody can click on that and see Turtle Boy in action.
We'll check it out. When do we find out? When do they vote on this mask mandate?
We'll know in probably 10 days. I'm hoping they defer to the superintendent. That's our best bet.
I have a bad feeling, Turtle Boy. You're in the middle of
odds are against it. Odds are definitely against it.
But you're used to it.
We're like plus 400 in Vegas right now to get no masks.
You have had a great week. We'll give you that. It was good to get you on and give you some credit since no one else will.
Before we go, can I announce Gerry Callahan show is looking for an intern or interns to help with media stuff, design, social media, that type of stuff. So follow us on Twitter at the Callahan Show and just DM us there if you're interested.
College kids, get that internship, get that on your belt.
Yep, they can design our background for our.
Yeah. You could be fancy like me. Look at me. I'm on Holy Cross. I'm on top of the world.
All right, Turtle Boy. Good job. Thanks, brother. Check him out at tbdailynews.com and follow him on Twitter. He's getting the number up there. And, he's a man on an island. He's taking on, Matt Walsh and Fox News and everyone else. And so he needs all the help he can get. But we appreciate it, Turtle Boy. And thanks to everybody for listening and for watching and for following. You can follow the show at
The Callahan Show.
The Callahan Show at The Callahan Show on Twitter, where Matt Carano will tweet out many, many videos and updates and all that. So check that out. Follow him on Twitter and Matt Carano, me on Twitter. Matthew Carano, and me on Twitter at Gerry Callahan. We appreciate it. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again real soon.